was a young farmer, still had a lot of hand debt and a lot of stuff to pay, so I couldn't buy everything you need to buy to do conservation tillage. So I kept on till the medic system came. And we started with medics, the short rotation system. Planted medics, next year we planted wheat on it, or sowed at that time, and the year after that medics again, which was actually the start of a conservation type of farming where I farm. We still had a little bit of lucerne as well on the side, but we relied very much on sheep, because about half of our, not our income, but half of our production area was sheep and half was cropping. Anyway, years later I met Jack Heeman. I don't know if you guys met him or know Jack Heeman. And I looked at what he did. He's on the lucerne and of course the conservation system. I decided that's the way to go. But I really couldn't afford the machinery and the planters and the stuff. So first we experimented with trash field spans, just spread out the seed and the fertilizer and try and work it in with trash field spans, and it blocked and was a hell of a mess, but we struggled through it. That was about 1994, around there. Anyway, we moved on, battled through this. The medics helped a little bit. After the medics, you could go through the stuff. In 1999, Jack was actually harvesting at my place, and I said, Jack, I can't go on like this. He said, Heinrich, what you should do is sell all this tractors, sell all the implements, sell everything. Buy one big tractor, buy one big planter that can actually go through this stubble. And that's what I did. It was a brave step in those years for this area, because there was nobody doing that. Everybody was still on either a lucerne and then a cropping system or a medic's cropping system. And I decided to go to a continuous cropping system. It made sense to me because I can produce more biomass. One thing that always bothered me with the lucerne system, and I'm not critiquing it, I'm not saying it's a bad system or anything, or the medic system, is you've got all this livestock in the winter on your fields. Sometimes we have a dry winter, or just about every time we have a dry summer, and it's supposed to be lucerne, but there's just about no lucerne. And out of a conservation view, it just didn't make sense to me. I wanted more biomass on my soil to have more moisture retention, and of course I won't bore you with all the other benefits you have of organic matter in the soil. So I tried to produce more organic matter, and in the year 2000 I went to Australia and I did a tour on my own. That's the same year I bought the planter, the Aussie. And I went and I went to see 20 farmers, which I picked, who was on a continuous cropping system and who planted with some type of planter. And what I realized then after that 20 farmers, that more than half of them were very successful farmers, but they had no sheep. They had a lot of stubble, and the other guys were halfway in. Some of them had sheep, some had no sheep, some burned a little bit, maybe for some problem, some never burned. The guys that never burned, that never ploughed, that wasn't a full stubble retention system, seemed like the guys that was going ahead. And that made a big impression. So when I came back here, I decided that's what I'm going to do. I'm going on a full cropping system. And it was a difficult decision, because everybody in the Western Cape said, you can't do it. It won't work, the risk is too high, because we know the risk is higher with cropping than with sheep here. And I decided, well, that's the only way that I'm going to build up my organic matter fast enough, or as fast as I would like to. And I did it in the first year. Of course, like all the conservation systems, it was reasonable. I was quite worried. I phoned the guys in Australia and said it didn't look as good as the guy next door that was spreading it out and was planting on a medic system and was planting on a lucerne. And he said, don't worry, how much plants have you got? I said, no, I've got about 180 plants per square meter. He said, don't worry, you'll average more than 3.5 tons. But it didn't look that way. It's not like now. Now we're used to the planters, we're used to even 300 spacing, we're used to seeing the soil, and in those years you didn't. You just, when they spread out, it was nice and green and everything looked good. Anyway, that was about June, July. It's very, very cold where I farm, and it's usually too wet. And from the end of August, the crop's just starting to get better and better and better. As the soil warmed up, it's got a lot of moisture retention. Anyway, to make a long story short again, every year from then, it just went better. Not faster. It's no use telling you that it happens in a year or two. It doesn't. And I still think one of our biggest problems is we don't get enough organic matter on the soil. So you don't get that process going fast enough. And that's why I'm such a serious stubble retention guy. That's why I don't like sheep on my lands. I don't like sheep. I don't like baling. I don't bale at all. I want more stubble. I farm with, maybe I should tell you this first. My rotation is most of the times, let's start with wheat, and then it will be barley. And after that, it would be either oats, peas, or canola. In other words, it's in thirds. A third of it wheat, a third of it barley, and a third an alternative crop which I can plant wheat on. The problem with the canola and the peas is it doesn't give me enough biomass. After I harvest it, there's just about nothing here. With peas, the half of it blows away anyway, so you get that. I don't like it. And I'm looking for an alternative crop to get more biomass, to get this process going further, because most of the soil has been on a system now for at least 10 years, some of it 17, some of it, well, the oldest fields about 20 years, 21 years. But it's as if I don't get a step further. I save all this biomass, I try and produce more, but it's just not enough. I need more. So yes, I think that's about my whole story, Johan. Excuse me?